Armageddon is just over the horizon. This is fake money. This is not real. It's all going to collapse. There is no production, and the people up the top, they have no skin in the game. So Armageddon is just over the horizon. We haven't even touched on Bitcoin, and you know more about that than anybody, because that's why Bitcoin's important. That's why gold's important. All these commodities are very important because they're stores of real value. And that's what we're missing here. You can't run a fake economy on fake money for very long and get away with it. We've been doing it at least for 30 years, maybe longer. Some people want to go back to when we came off the gold standard. That may be true, but we're definitely running a fake economy with fake money.
Veteran U.S. Army officer Colonel Douglas MacGregor has issued a shocking warning. A financial Armageddon might be just around the corner. His message isn't about fear, it's a call to action. Reckless economic practices, bank failures, and growing global instability have set the stage for a potential financial collapse. To prepare for this, MacGregor urges investments in cash, gold, and Bitcoin, alongside a focus on energy independence and high-end manufacturing. This isn't wild speculation. Bitcoin's skyrocketing price is a sign that investors are already shifting their confidence. According to MacGregor, without serious management of our economic and geopolitical stability, we're closer to disaster than we realize. He specifically highlighted bank failures, pointing to institutions like First Republic and possibly Bank of America as significant vulnerabilities. In today's world, where digital assets like Bitcoin challenge traditional financial models, it's vital to create a more resilient economic foundation, protect the economy from unpredictable swings, and ensure it can stand strong against future challenges. Watch clips from the interview to hear more about Colonel Douglas MacGregor's perspective and his conversation with Natalie Brunell. Don't miss out on future exclusive content. Like, subscribe to our channel, and enable post notifications. Enjoy the video.
Armageddon is just over the horizon. This is fake money. This is not real. It's all going to collapse. There is no production, and the people up the top, they have no skin in the game. So Armageddon is just over the horizon. I think what he's saying is that the financialization of our economy, the transaction fees that are the source of wealth for the top, 1 or 2% or 5%, that's not going to work much longer. And at some point, everybody is going to refuse to deal with you. Now, we're going to have a strong dollar for a while, which is not necessarily good for us for a while. I don't know how long that lasts, but at some point that's going to change. We've already seen the petrodollar begin to move away because we watched Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. They're all marching into the BRICS architecture. And that's very important. Bank failures are just beginning. We've had the problems with First Republic. Then now we're going towards Bank of America, which looks very bad, similar to what was UBS and so forth. I think that's the number one concern. First are these bank failures that we're going to start experiencing. The tariff war, we already explained why tariffs aren't going to work, so that's a dead end. Fed tightening and easing too late. What did the Fed do? They said, we're going to drive down interest rates. What's happened in the bond market? Where are the yields? They're rising and rising. This is sort of like you're trapped in a room and you've got this much oxygen left in the room and everything else is underwater. And you're trying to tell yourself the fundamentals are good. I know this is going to work. And if I just blow bubbles long enough, there'll be more oxygen up there. No, I don't think so. So I think that's part of the thing. And the financial crisis that we're confronting, look at Japan, look at the United Kingdom, look at Germany. The systematic deindustrialization of the country, which is not very different to a large extent from what we've been doing to ourselves over the years by exporting manufacturing bases. And finally, gold. Gold is up 30%. Now, it's not impossible that gold could tank and then rise again, but the point is it's gotten to 30% in how short a period? In the space of what, a year or two? And we haven't even touched on Bitcoin. And you know more about that than anybody, because that's why Bitcoin's important. That's why gold's important. All these commodities are very important because they're stores of real value. And that's what we're missing here. You can't run a fake economy on fake money for very long and get away with it. We've been doing it at least for 30 years, maybe longer. Some people want to go back to when we came off the gold standard. That may be true, but we're definitely running a fake economy with fake money. Now, what we say here at Our Country, Our Choice is that we have to focus on certain specific things. We talked about rule of law. We've got to get out of all these conflicts. These are just sapping our strength. They're wasting our time, money, and energy. We're not living in 1900. This is not the era of gunboat diplomacy. We've got to get out of this business of intervening all over the world in other people's affairs. It's just not, it's unaffordable. We can't sustain it. We don't want it. And we're creating new enemies. But the first thing we need to do is we've got to say, where are we going to focus our efforts? Energy is absolutely number one. Donald Trump understands that. Energy is critical. And everybody says, well, that's right. We'll just get going really, really fast. We'll start fracking and we'll start this and that and everything else. Stop a minute and think about something. How many refineries do we have in the United States? When's the last time we built any new ones? How many drilling platforms have we recently started and opened? And when was the last one that was abandoned? You can't go to an industry like the oil industry and natural gas and say, okay, restraints are off. It's time to go, boys.
Right.
Huh? Where's the capital? How do I do this? How do I get it rolling and running? But energy is critical. Energy, energy, energy. The second thing is high-end manufacturing.
Colonel Douglas MacGregor disclosed his investment strategy, which included significant investments in cash, gold, and Bitcoin as a hedge against future financial collapse. He emphasized the need for cash on hand, referencing bank closures during the Depression. MacGregor cites specialists such as Ray Dalio, Gonzalo Falcón, and Misha Faber who warn of a potential collapse. MacGregor cited Otto von Bismarck's 19th century prophecy that America would become the world's leading superpower, citing industrial prowess, steel output, and oil reserves. Napoleon Bonaparte acknowledged America's power and sold the Louisiana Territory to avoid bloodshed. Colonel MacGregor emphasized the importance of understanding America's power structure, which is based on labor, capital, and previous achievements. He voiced concern over the country's future trajectory, stating that good leadership is required to handle difficulties. Let's go back to the interview and watch more clips from the discussion.
I don't have a podcast where I advise everybody on what to do with their lives, so I can only tell you what I've done, and that I'm heavily invested in cash, gold, and Bitcoin. Now, if you want to buy silver, fine, buy silver, But I own it, I keep it, and I store it. And I think that's the only hedge right now against the high possibility that everything falls apart. And I mentioned cash because during the Depression, there were times when the banks were closed that you had to have cash to do anything, and a lot of people didn't have it because they couldn't get into the banks. I don't know what's going to happen now. I mean, I really don't. This is new territory. This debt load and the situation we are in is virgin territory. None of us really knows how terrible it could be, nor have we explored very many solutions because no one wants to admit that this thing we call financial Armageddon could actually happen. I mean, there are a few people out there. I mean, you can listen to Ray Dalio, and he'll tell you a little bit, although he tends to, I think, commit a lot of plagiarism, borrowing heavily from Sam Huntington and Oswald Spengler and his little developmental model. But he has a lot to say, and I think Gundlach is another one who has a lot to say on these matters. And obviously, one of my favorites is Michael Faber, Michael Faber out in Singapore. And people don't like it because Michael Faber says, this is going to be the worst I've ever seen. Everyone is going to suffer. Okay, thanks, Michael. Everybody says, what do we do? What do we do? And I don't have an easy solution except to say, this is what I've done. And I sold off a lot of things. I've sold off most of my real estate holdings.
Really?
All of that's gone, yeah.
Why?
Because that's what has no value whatsoever when things go under. This is back when people were selling 2,000 acres at 10 cents an acre because they needed cash. Bismarck, who died at the end of the 19th century, He said many things before he passed, and he tried desperately to illuminate the second Kaiser, who was unfortunately not the best choice for Kaiser, but he nevertheless became the Kaiser. But he said, the great superpower in the world in the future of the 21st century is America. And people say, well, America? Why? America has almost no army. America has a very small navy. But America led the world in what? Steel, oil. Look at what was built between 1865 and 1922 in this country. And he knew that was coming, and he understood. He watched the Civil War carefully. Anybody who watched the Civil War knew we were the future superpower. We were the first people in the world to field armies of millions and fight across a continent. Incomprehensible to most people. The only one that came closest to it was Napoleon Bonaparte. And he was a horrific danger to everyone as far as the Europeans were concerned. Well, what about us? Bonaparte couldn't even come close to us, and Bonaparte was aware of it. He knew it. When he purchased, or when he sold, rather, what we call the Louisiana Purchase, this vast tract of land, several of his advisors said, Your Majesty, don't do this. Sire, don't do this. We need to send an army over there, and we need to hold this territory. This is very lucrative. And he said, how? He said, we'll never have enough armies to hold that territory against the Americans who live there. They live there. They will overwhelm us. And then we'll have enemies we don't need. Better that we should sell it, get what we can for it, and then hopefully in the future we can be friends with them. That's what, 1805, 1806, or 1800, I can't remember the Louisiana Purchase. It's terrible. I should remember the date. But he understood that. So you're right. When you look at these candidates, good God, man, what is most important? What is the foundation for everything? What is the source of our great power? It's our labor, our capital. It's building what we've built in the past, prosperity.
Meanwhile, analysts anticipate that Bitcoin's price might hit $100,000 in November, driven by historical chart patterns and increased investor demand following the U.S. presidential election. This prediction came after Bitcoin posted its highest weekly return since the 2023 U.S. banking crisis. Bitcoin broke the $90,000 record high on November 13th, just over a week after Donald Trump won the election. According to Ryan Lee, head analyst at BitGet Research, Bitcoin's over 100% year-to-date rise has surpassed the majority of traditional financial assets. November is traditionally Bitcoin's greatest month, with CoinGlass statistics showing average profits of over 44%. Bitcoin is already up over 20% this month. Lee observes that if history repeats itself, a 14.7% increase from the current price level will drive Bitcoin well past the $100,000 mark. The post-halving cycle likelihood is also promising for Bitcoin's future. Other analysts, such as Bitfinex, are bullish, predicting Trump's administration to promote cryptocurrency acceptance and push Bitcoin above $100,000 within months. They highlight low downside risk as a result of the positive momentum and the prevention of a recession. Key triggers for Bitcoin's potential ascent include predicted interest rate reduction in the United States and reduced supply issuance following the 2024 halving. However, Crypto.com's CEO, Chris Marsalek, warns that the cryptocurrency market may need to deleverage before Bitcoin reaches $100,000, as current leveraged ratios are unsustainable. Marsalek recommends sensible risk management. Bitfinex analysts emphasize the necessity of deleveraging, stating that Bitcoin's price trajectory would be determined by market conditions. Regardless, they see a $100,000 target. What steps are you taking to prepare for a potential financial crisis? And do you think Colonel Douglas MacGregor's warnings are justified? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and hit your thumbs on the like button. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.